Good afternoon. What is up, everybody? It's episode 25 of the Rollout Show.
Do you have a quarter in your pocket right now? Because that is 25 cents.
You had high hopes for that when you started out with that, didn't you? And then it just crashed and burned.
I really should have thought about that joke before I said it.
You're like, ooh, I got a good one. And but halfway through, I could tell it was starting to fall away. I was like, oh, this is going to be bad. It's going to be worse than mine.
After the word pocket, it was all downhill from there.
And then you tried to ramble to get it back, and it just wasn't there.
Episode 25, that's a lot of episodes. We're 25% of the way to 100.
I know, and for some reason, we haven't been shut down yet. I mean, people haven't found us and beat us up and said, wow, your show's terrible. So
they should.
I mean, honestly, I was kind of expecting that. I've been carrying a broken baseball bat around with me everywhere I go. Just saying.
What are you talking about?
You know it's true. It's in my trunk. I had to move it.
What's it for, to beat people up when
Just
they try and come get us?
Just in case we get into danger, man. Just in case. I've got that baseball bat. We just have to lead them to the trunk of my car so I can get it out of my car.
Whoa. Let's stop. Don't talk about beating people up and abducting them on.
I'm not. I'm
on
just
a podcast.
To defend ourselves. I would need to get to the car so I could have the bat. So it's really not a good plan. It's a terrible plan. So yeah, I don't think you should feel very safe. I don't have this under control.
Anyway,
and to clear our names, I was not trying to say get people to the car and throw them in the car and then we drive away.
Exactly what it sounded like.
It did, but it was kind of like your quarter joke. Once you started
it's
going,
nothing like the quarter joke. Anyway, we have a really busy show today, unlike
Yes,
last
we do.
week. So maybe we should get started. You want to give the people a quick summary of what we're going to be talking about today?
A quick summary of what we're going to be talking about today. Talking about America's game, the best game in the world, some baseball in the leadoff spot.
Our weekly segment of Baseball Hell.
Or heaven, depending on who you talk to. Anyway, we're going to touch on the McGregor-Mayweather fight a little bit. We're going to talk about Zeke and his suspension and the different new wrinkles to the story that are coming up. We have our college football playoff predictions. Then we're going to get into some NFL predictions and maybe sum it up with a little Matt Stafford talk and NFL contracts, as well as a little bit about the Kyrie trade.
It's a lot of stuff.
That's a lot of stuff.
Get us started.
We're probably going to get to Zeke, and then it's going to be an hour. So,
well, hopefully we don't spend too long in baseball hell. So let's hurry up and finish with that. Get this over with, please.
Okay, let's talk some baseball. So we got some big trades, big things happening, big business to discuss. Don't boo.
I'm sorry.
These are some good players changing hands. I shouldn't have sidetracked you.
Hurry up.
So the biggest trade has happened. Justin Verlander to the Houston Astros. It happened with minutes to spare to the deadline. Midnight on September 1st. 11:59 p.m. on August 31st. That's the deadline. Verlander finally accepted the trade to Houston. It was something that had been on paper looked like an amazing fit for, I don't know, the entire season. Houston finally pulls the trigger, and Verlander signs off on it, and he is now a Houston Astro after 13 great seasons in Detroit. So, excuse me.
Wow.
Sorry, I'm just so excited about it.
Getting a little sick in baseball hell?
Now I'm getting a little choked up to see one of my favorite players no longer with one of the teams I root for. Just saying. Anyway, so Justin Verlander going to the Houston Astros. There were rumors out there that he rejected the trade and that the Detroit front office didn't blame him for it, but apparently they were able to work it back out and he ended up accepting the trade to Houston. It was either some false reporting or something else went on. He had a change of heart, whatever. So he's in Houston now, and the Astros actually ended up giving up some of their prospects, which is shocking because they haven't been really willing to do that. They give up their number 3 prospect in their system, Franklin Perez, a 19-year-old pitcher in Double-A, which is crazy. He's 19 and in Double-A. Got a great fastball.
Is that rare?
Very rare.
Oh.
Because, when you think most college players are 19.
Right.
Yeah,
But a
so
lot of players get drafted out of high school, right?
get drafted out of high school or signed at 16. If you're an international free agent, you can sign at 16, which is what he did. But still, he basically burst onto the scene because he started out as a shortstop out of Venezuela and is basically Carlos Guillen. It was his baseball academy. He's a former major leaguer. He's like, you need to go to the mound. So they threw him on the mound, and he just took off. He's great. Great fastball, good curveball. He's got good command. He has a 3 ERA in AA this year, which is really impressive because he's one of the youngest people in AA, if not the youngest. So looks like he's going to be a pretty good one. Then you have Daz Cameron, center fielder. He is an A-ball right now, but he was, I believe, their 8th or 9th ranked prospect. And he's the son of former Gold Glover Mike Cameron, great center fielder, played for years and years, a bunch of different teams. So great defense from him, steals some bases. The bat's coming around. He's starting to hit for a higher average and growing into some power. Then you have Jake Rogers out of Tulane. He's a catcher. He was their number 11 prospect. He might be a little further away, but he's arguably the best defensive catcher in the minor leagues right now. So he's MLB ready right now as far as defense goes, but it's his bat that kind of needs some work. So he throws out, I think right now he's thrown out 70% of base stealers, which is
It's pretty good.
Crazy.
That's pretty
considering
good.
Yadi Molina is one of the best, and he throws out like 50%, 45 to 50. That just goes to show you this dude's pretty good.
Well, Yadi's also old.
Yeah, he's 35, but hey, man's still, he's having like the best year of his career statistically, actually, so good on him.
Yeah, but he's old.
Whatever, he's still cooking. Still grinding.
Oh my God, are you doing okay over there?
I'm doing okay. I'm just so excited to talk about baseball.
You need a little medicine.
We
need to hurry up and get out of baseball.
No.
Is what we need to do.
No. Anyway, big playoff implications. There's a lot of teams fighting for the wild card spots in the American League. And right now, currently, the Twins have a 1.5 game lead on the second wild card spot. But one of the teams that made some big moves that technically, if the season ended today, would not be in the playoffs, but they're still going for it, which I don't really blame them, is the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. They pulled off another mega trade.
Question.
Yes.
Why are they the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim if they're in a Los Angeles?
They're technically in Anaheim, but their owner wanted them to be the Los Angeles Angels, and honestly, actually, I think they dropped the of Anaheim part.
Oh, you just made that up.
No, it's actually a true thing. I don't know, because...
No, I know it's a true thing. It's not actually, like, in their name, though.
It was, but I think they took it out. I'm not really sure.
It wouldn't make any sense for it to be in it.
Well, they were the Anaheim Angels, then a new owner got them, then they were the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. Like, literally, that was their name, the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim.
Mm-hmm.
And then now I think they might just be the Los Angeles Angels.
I should not have distracted you in baseball hell. Please continue.
It's just
we must continue our escape from this
It's just one of those weird things that, yeah, it's just weird name-wise. Anyway, so the Angels, they get Justin Upton.
He used to be good, right?
He's very good this year. Like, he signed a big contract extension 2 years ago. Or not extension. He signed a big free agent contract with the Tigers. One of the last moves Mike Ilitch made. One of the big free agent signings he made. Last season, first year of his contract, was a really rough year for him. He started to come along towards the second half, but it's hard to adjust to a new league and a new team, especially when you have such a big contract as well. But he grew into his own, having a great season this year. He's upped his walk rate to 11%, which is the highest of his career. He's hitting about 280. He's getting on base. He's tied his career high in home runs. So he's having a very, very good season. The thing is, Justin Upton was not planning on doing it, but he has an opt-out after this season. And he went to the front office in Detroit, and he's like, look, I'm kind of starting to think more about exercising my opt-out. And he basically was candid with him. He's like, if we're going into a full-fledged rebuild, then I'm going to opt out. And then Avila told him, hey, that's the plan we're going, so we're going to work out a trade to get you, somewhere where you can contend. So Angels wanted him, worked out a trade, gave up their 9th best prospect, even though the Angels kind of have a weak farm system. This pitcher seems to be pretty good. He's close to Major League ready, so that's good for the Tigers. And now Justin Upton, he has a couple of months to see if he likes playing with Mike Trout and out in Los Angeles, Southern California area, and then if not, he's back out on the open market after having a career year. So we'll see. He's been in the leagues, major leagues, I think almost 10 years, but he's still only 30. So
that's pretty good.
He's really young because he has great defensive value, which you don't see very often.
How's BJ Upton doing?
He's looking for a job. So,
all right,
and actually changed his name to Melvin. He wants to go by Melvin
instead of BJ.
Yeah, it was a nickname, so now he's going by his real name. Yeah, Melvin Upton Jr. The more you know.
Gonna keep it clean.
Yep.
I was gonna make a joke, but we're gonna keep it clean.
That's right. A family show.
All right.
Keep it moving.
Are we done in baseball hell?
Yeah, I won't get to the Juan Nicasio intricacies of
Juan
Pittsburgh.
Nicasio.
You don't even know who he is.
I have no idea.
He's one of the better relievers in baseball, and Pittsburgh basically
what happened to you not getting into this?
We're gonna do it quickly.
Okay.
Pittsburgh has had a track record of dumping people's salary at the end of the season and basically getting not a whole lot in return, yet telling their fans they're still contending. They did the same thing with Francisco Liriano last year. But Nicasio, they could have traded him at the non-waiver deadline to whoever they wanted. They chose not to. So instead, they put him on revocable waivers, which is what you do in August. He got claimed by a team that Neil Huntington, the GM of the Pirates, said was a direct competitor of the Pirates, and they didn't want him to go there. So people are thinking it was either the Marlins or the Cardinals who claimed him. So Pittsburgh didn't want him to go to anybody in the National League. So instead, they throw him on outright waivers, which means they have no control over where he goes, and they were hoping he would pass through and get to the American League so he could be on a contender. And instead, he gets picked up by the first team available, which is, it's based on record. So he goes to the Philadelphia Phillies, who claimed him and got him for nothing.
It's fine. Ryan Howard's going to take that team back. And Chase Utley. They're really going to do some work in Philly.
Yeah, maybe in the offseason out in the community, because neither of them are there anymore.
When did Chase Utley leave? Oh, yeah, he's with Texas,
ago.
Right? He's with Texas?
He's with the Dodgers.
Oh, gosh. I don't know anything.
Ryan Howard's in the minors with the Rockies. Come on,
Didn't he used to be really good?
I mean, yeah, he was until baseball changed and he got injured. He tore his Achilles in the playoffs. And then he kind of never was the same.
All right, well, that'll do it for Baseball Hell. Thank you very much, Weston. Round of applause for Weston. Woo! Woo!
Thanks, guys. Thanks for being with my excitement towards baseball.
And now we're free. What are we talking about next?
Talking about the fight, so you go for it.
Oh, the fight. Was not going to watch this fight. Luckily, my good buddy Weston over here was kind enough to actually have the fight, so we watched it together. I watched the Mayweather-Pacquiao fight and thought I was going to have to gouge my eyes out. This was not nearly as bad. So it wasn't a great fight. It wasn't an amazing fight. McGregor never really had a chance, I don't think. But it was really entertaining. The first couple of rounds, McGregor, probably won the first 3 rounds. I think officially they gave a bunch of them to Mayweather, but he should have won the first couple of rounds.
Based on the eye test and the unofficial score. Yeah.
So Mayweather seemed to lay off the defense a little bit. McGregor got a couple shots into the face, a couple good shots. They didn't really seem to phase Mayweather, probably because these guys are so small. They don't have amazing punching power. But it was entertaining. There would be times when you could tell McGregor forgot he was boxing and he'd start coming down with the hammer punch on the top of the head. That's obviously not okay in boxing.
That was entertaining, but also there was the whole thing where you could tell Floyd started to play into it too, where he would tuck his head mid punch from McGregor, and it would look like he was kind of
it was because McGregor was coming at him from weird angles.
Oh yeah,
that all Mayweather had to do was drop his head a little bit, and he would get hammer punched. I don't know if Mayweather was doing that to make it look like a more entertaining fight, or if he was trying to get McGregor DQ'd. I don't know. But it was entertaining. It went, 10 rounds before McGregor got destroyed and TKO'd. It's been a long time since I've seen Mayweather fight aggressively, so that was pretty entertaining. I would say it was not a great fight. It was a wildly entertaining fight relative to what I was expecting.
Oh, yeah, which I was kind of glad I ended up watching it because it was really just worth it to see a different fight from Mayweather, because Mayweather-Pacquiao was awful. It was a joke. I'm really glad I didn't pay for that one. I watched it with somebody else who paid for it, but it was just a rough fight because you just see them dancing around and then they'd hug and get pulled apart and then punch, dance around. McGregor was toying with him. Mayweather was on the attack, which you don't usually see. They were kind of joking with each other and then getting a little agitated with each other at the same time. And then it was just, it was an entertaining fight to watch, which was something I really wanted to see.
Yeah, so takeaways, it was fine. Mayweather is really good at boxing. Of course, he's going to beat someone who's not a boxer. McGregor, he fought better than a lot of people were expecting, at least until he got gassed in the 4th or 5th round. It was entertaining. Had a good time watching it. I think we can move on, though. There's not a lot to glean from that.
Don't have any, expert insight there, Brad?
I'm not a boxing expert. I'm not a boxing expert. But it was entertaining. What can I say? I had a good time watching the fight, and I was not expecting to. I kind of only ended up watching it because it was convenient, and I figured, why not? Had you not told me that you had the fight, I just wouldn't have watched it, and I wouldn't have felt any bad about doing that.
Honestly, we almost didn't get the fight, and it just ended up, we were like, oh, let's go get some dinner and see, and then every place that was hosting the fight, it was, ridiculously expensive, so it's why don't we just buy it at home? So that's what we did. I was glad we did it.
All right, anyway, let's move on.
Speaking Awkward transition. Another fight.
Oh, whoa. No, Weston.
I meant a legal fight. Gosh, come on.
Come on, man.
I meant a legal battle. Come on, man.
Are you serious?
I meant a legal battle. Come on. I wasn't taking that many shots. Come on.
I'm good.
Just fight between Roger Goodell and the Players Association.
Why would you say, speaking of fights, when we're about to talk about domestic violence? That's not okay. That's not okay.
I didn't mean it to be like that.
Please apologize to the audience.
I am sorry, audience. I did not mean it to be like that. I really meant the legal battle that is coming between the Players Association and the NFL. I was not referring to the domestic violence or non-domestic violence, whichever it actually is, which we do not know with Ezekiel Elliott.
So, quick update. Zeke suspended 6 games to start the season. The NFL very recently concluded their year-long investigation of this incident for domestic violence. And the lead investigator for the NFL, reports are coming out that she recommended 0-game suspension. She basically didn't think that the evidence they had was credible or was worthy of a suspension. This evidence, reportedly, these are all reports by the time this podcast comes out. I should note, by the time this podcast comes out, maybe news has surfaced, but these are all reports that have come out over the last couple of days. Her recommendation was never presented to Roger Goodell, or his team that decided on the punishment for Zeke. Instead, they were, I believe, told that the investigators of the 5 alleged incidents, only one of them they found to be not credible. So it's really weird right now. What's going on, whose fault it is. The Players Association is filing for Zeke to be able to play week 1 and to get this suspension thrown out, sort of like what happened with Deflategate. So we really have no idea what's going on right now. This is a weirder situation than Deflategate almost.
It really is, because it's a lot of people saying, well, the NFL didn't even listen to this, or it's like some like back channels, like,
and it's all
weird
reports.
Stuff.
The weird thing though is, for something like this to get out, only the people that are pretty high up in the NFL would know about this,
right.
Or like the investigation team themselves. For the NFL or any organization to not take in effect the testimony of the lead investigator of your year-long investigation, it doesn't seem plausible.
Strange.
It seems like a stretch, and it seems like this report makes no sense. But if it's true, they have really, like, what's the NFL gonna do to recover? Like, this is ridiculous.
And then if they don't suspend him, and then it's like, some people are gonna jump out and say, like, well, what's going on? Because, like, some people think, he actually committed these crimes, and, like, hey, maybe he does deserve a suspension or something like that.
But here's the thing, is the justice system said there was no credible evidence for this.
But, like,
the NFL investigators reportedly said that there's no credible evidence for this. So if Roger Goodell because the report is that Roger Goodell just never got that bit of information. That seems ridiculous to me. It seems like some poor scapegoat's head is about to roll. And I find it impossible to believe that Roger Goodell wouldn't get that information. But that's the report that's coming out, is that Roger Goodell was never told about this lady's testimony. It wasn't part of the appeals process. Like, that's where this all came from, is her testimony was never part of the appeals process. It's so weird. I'm interested to see where it goes. This may be a messy, weird legal situation.
I think it's going to be very rough, and it's almost a trend of behavior of the NFL botching kind of investigations and suspensions.
And I don't know what the solution is at this point, because they've messed it up so bad. The Ray Rice thing, this is what this all came from. The Ray Rice botched suspension it's like it's befuddled the NFL. They don't know what to do.
Well, the entire system, because it used to be, like, here's your suspension, you can appeal it, okay, there's a game knocked off, here you go. And now it's like, you have these extreme suspensions, and then it's also like a distrust in the system as well.
Well, and that's the big problem, because technically right now, they changed it the last couple of years to where it's 6 games as the base punishment for any domestic violence case.
Right.
And then, given varying circumstances, it could be a little less, a little more. But they haven't really seemed to follow that, because they've given guys less when there was clear, like, legal evidence that they performed these acts. I don't know. I don't know.
It's what I heard was somebody basically saying that this is a makeup call for botching the Josh Brown thing.
But you can't do that.
Like, you can't really, you can't
because
do that.
The second you do that, you piss off arguably the most powerful owner in the NFL, in Jerry Jones, who's furious right now, who has been one of Roger Goodell's stiffest supporters. Sorry, had to get those words out.
No, you're good.
You make him angry right after you made Bob Kraft angry, and you're doing all this with apparently no evidence. It's weird. I don't know. We'll see what happens. We'll see what comes of this. I don't understand how Roger Goodell still has a job.
Stay tuned for this edition of Law and Order NFL.
Yeah, for real. And the other problem with doing something like that is, it's probably not intentional, but all of a sudden, this can become a race conversation.
Right, yeah.
Like, you give the white guy who had clear evidence of domestic violence, what did he get, 3 games, 2 games?
At first, it was something like that. It was very similar to the Ray Rice thing.
He got basically nothing, and there was evidence that he did it. Now you have this Zeke situation where there doesn't seem to be any clear evidence that he actually performed these violent acts, and he gets 6 games. Like, now you've opened this race conversation that doesn't need to exist because you can't handle your suspensions properly. I don't know. I don't know
It's
if there's
really-
anything else for us to say. We're not lawyers.
We aren't.
Can't really comment.
It's really a no-win situation for the NFL, honestly, because I mean, if you really can't go anywhere from here because you suspended him, and now it looks like there's not any evidence to suspend him.
So either you take away the suspension and you've lost all credibility, or you fight it and you've lost all credibility.
Right.
Like,
so in the court of public opinion, you're already basically torched anyway.
The only saving grace for the NFL at this point would be if the reports are wrong.
Right.
That's it. And I mean, by all accounts, nothing has come out to disprove it. I haven't heard any like strong opposition from the NFL spokespeople about this. It's weird.
It's a very strange situation, but
good way to start the NFL season.
Right.
Great way. In
2 years in a row, let's start the NFL season with a suspension botchery
of a superstar.
Yeah.
Like Zeke isn't some random CJ Anderson type, like pretty good running back.
Or like a backup left guard or something like that.
Zeke is arguably the best player on America's team.
Absolutely.
Like he was the rookie of the year, was an MVP candidate, and is arguably the best running back in football. I wouldn't agree with that, but people would argue that, right?
Right.
You can't keep botching this. It makes no sense to suspend the NFL's most popular players when they don't need to be suspended. And domestic violence is a problem. It needs to be addressed. But one thing that the NFL seems to be doing is with these botcheries, they're bringing so much attention to the NFL and their domestic violence cases. It makes it look like there's more domestic violence cases than there actually are. Like, the NFL is full of mostly really good guys. But when you have cases of Ray Rice and Greg Hardy and Zeke and Adrian Peterson and all these high-profile cases that the attention stays and stays and stays because of these legal battles, these botched suspensions. It keeps the focus there, and it seems like it's happening more often than it actually is.
And then there's also the whole situation that, you know, if it does happen, it almost seems like you can't really trust the system because it's been botched so often. Like, you know, for like on the victim side of things, you know, in case it, because there's so many times it's like happened, there's a suspension when there didn't necessarily need to be one, and then it just messes up the entire system, really.
Yeah. So to finish up is going to be crazy for the next few weeks. I'm very interested to see what they do. I have a feeling Zeke will be playing week 1. I have a feeling this is going to be like the Tom Brady situation, and Zeke will be on the field week 1 because a judge is going to want to look at this.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, if in your fantasy drafts you reached for Zeke in the second round, or the third round even, congratulations. You're probably going to have a top 5 guy.
There you go.
All right.
So, switching gears to college football.
Whoop, whoop. Game started today. Watched a couple. Clemson, Brian Kelly. That's not his name.
Kelly.
Ryan Kelly, I think was his name. Their new quarterback. Looking pretty good. Not bad. A little faster than Deshaun Watson. Not quite as powerful. Okay. Decent passer. And I bring this up because I don't know. I shouldn't have brought it up. But basically, we're going to give our playoff predictions. And I was going to have Florida State in the playoffs. But after watching Clemson's new quarterback, I don't know.
You don't think you think Clemson's going to get them?
I think it will be much closer than I had previously thought. Because usually when you lose, you're starting quarterback, your number 1 running back, and your number 1 receiver. Things are going to go downhill.
And your top player on defense as well.
But their defense looks like it's retooled. Their offense looks good. Anyway, Weston.
Yes.
Final 4. College football playoffs. Give them to me.
This is tough.
By the way, we're recording Saturday afternoon. So tonight's the Bama Florida State game. Florida Michigan. There's some big games today. If Bama somehow gets blown out by Florida State, because I know Bama's going to be in both of our Final Fours.
Yes,
this is before that happens, and we apologize. Okay,
we definitely apologize. So, here's where I'm at. and this will probably change by next week, but
And
I'm taking a shot in the dark right now.
No particular order, too.
Right.
Because I don't know what order I'm going to put them in.
I'm the same way. So, Alabama in there.
Duh.
Yeah. Sorry if you don't like Alabama, but Alabama.
That's what happens when you have the best college football coach ever.
And
that's what happens.
Top recruiting, preparation, everything.
Well, that all goes in college. The recruiting is part of it.
Yes. Number 2 on my list, University of Washington. Believing in the Huskies.
Interesting. Okay.
Believing in the Huskies.
Okay.
I got mad respect for Peterson out there, so always liked him at Boise State, so I'm a believer in Washington. Number 3. Unfortunately, I have to take somebody from the Big Ten, whether I want to or not.
Ohio State?
Penn State.
Penn State? Really? Okay, go on. We can argue later.
You know what? Like I said, shots in the dark. Part of it's with my heart / maybe not wanting to pick certain teams.
Why is it your heart, though? It means you're picking James Franklin.
I really don't like James
Franklin.
Franklin.
One day we'll tell the audience why we don't hate James Franklin. Abandoning that.
Why we don't hate or do hate?
Do hate. What I say? I meant don't like. Don't
like.
Don't
yeah,
hate
and
came
then
out.
Hate came out.
Sorry.
Yeah. All right. So we'll tell people.
One day. We'll keep you in suspense.
That's right. Number 4.
Can you hurry it up, please?
Sure. TCU Horned Frogs.
I'm done with you. You're so stupid. Really? You're not even going to take this seriously?
I am taking it seriously, but honestly, I am so in between so many different teams.
But
that
this is if you were going to put money on it.
If I'm going to put money on it, my predictions would be different. Yes.
That's what we're doing.
Okay,
we're predicting. We're not. This isn't the flyer playoff pick.
Okay.
This is what you think is going to happen.
Well, the first 2 weren't flyers. I honestly believe Alabama and Washington.
I think those are good picks.
Okay, if I had to put my money on it, it would be Ohio State. And honestly, it's going to sound weird. If I've had to put my money on it, probably it'd either be USC or Florida State.
Well, you have to pick. I mean, this is a prediction.
Yeah.
Didn't I tell you to be ready?
You did.
Didn't we talk about this pre-show?
Yes, you did, but I keep going back and forth on so many different teams.
You gotta pick.
Fine.
Just pick.
Fine. Florida State.
Okay.
I'm not confident about it really at all.
So your top 4 finally had to rip them out of you from deep within your soul are Bama, Florida State, Washington, and Ohio State, right?
Correct.
Okay. My 4, I based mine basically on who do I think is going to win the best 4 conferences, because it's sort really of like what you did. Because, I mean, I would love a team like Oklahoma State to get in. I love Mike Gundy. The problem is I have little to no respect for the Big 12. I think it's a garbage conference. They play garbage football.
Especially when Oklahoma is number 7 and they have no business being there, and Texas is ranked when they have no business being ranked.
And it's not even the fact that the AP poll likes the Big 12. I don't like football where your objective is basically to outscore the other team. And yeah, that sounds weird, but they don't play defense in the Big 12. It's this weird transition that happened over the last decade or so where nobody in the Big 12 can play defense.
And it's very strange because it went from a very, very defensive conference where Texas would have a good defense, Oklahoma would have a good defense, Mizzou and Nebraska, good defenses. And then it went to barn burner games
almost
like Texas Tech and just
it was kind of like
70 on people.
This all transitioned during the RG3 era, was kind of when all the Big 12 teams said, forget defense. We're going to just outscore the other team. And I think it's garbage football. I don't really like watching Big 12 games. I like Mike Gundy. I'd love for Oklahoma State to get in, but I doubt it. I think the committee also has little to no respect for the Big 12.
That's kind of been evident even the past couple years.
Yep.
Like Baylor was really good under Art
TCU
Briles, and TCU
probably should have gotten in the first year of the playoffs, and they got snubbed for Ohio State, who went on to win it all. But I think I have that right. So my 4, Bama, duh. They're going to win the SEC best conference. The next best conference, the ACC. I was going to say Florida State this morning. But you know what? I think I'm going to go Clemson. Dabo's a good coach. They have a lot of talent left on that team, and they don't have to play Alabama. So that's one loss that they're already going to have up on Florida State.
See, my heart was saying go with Clemson, but I mean, you brought it up already, and I was like, no, I can't really.
I think either Florida State or Clemson is going to get in the Final Four for sure, because I think one of those two teams is going to win the ACC, and unless it's a really weird, 4-loss team that wins the ACC, I think because that conference is pretty good now, that it's gotten a lot better over the last few years, I think the winner's going to get in.
And also, just for ACC random tidbits, watch out for Virginia Tech. They ended up surprising people at the end of last season, so just watch out for Virginia Tech. They could be a sleeper.
All right.
My own personal
Thank you.
take.
Thank you for that sleeper. Okay, third best conference, the Big Ten. Give me Ohio State. Basically because I think they have the best quarterback in the conference, and I mean, Penn State, I have no faith in. Even though they technically won the conference last year, no one thought they were the best team in that conference. Michigan's on the rise, but they lost a lot of talent. They may have trouble getting back there this year. Ohio State, they have a good coach, even though we don't like them.
Right.
They have a really good quarterback who can make plays. That's a talented team. Give me Ohio State. And then the fourth best conference is the Pac-12.
Yes,
still
Pac-12.
The Pac-12, right?
Yes,
not the Pac-14 yet?
No, not yet.
The Pac-12. This one's tough. It's either Washington or USC.
That's really what it comes down to. There's a lot more competition in the North where it looks like USC is going to run away with the South, but...
I like Washington. I think what they did last year may have been a tad fluky, but they do have a really good coach. But I'm going to go USC. Sam Darnold. He's very good. I don't think Sam Darnold's going to win the Heisman or anything, but I'll buy into the hype a little bit. Give me USC as my number 4 team.
See, I can agree with those picks, and it was very tough for me to decide because, I mean, I have really the two I'm pretty convicted about, which are really Alabama and Washington, and even I could see a second Pac-12 team get in there potentially.
So this is the problem I have with that is unless the Big 12 implodes,
they're still going to give some Big 12 team.
Yeah, because a conference championship should mean something, right?
Right.
I have a hard time seeing any conference other than maybe the SEC, but maybe not even the SEC anymore.
Right.
5 years ago, yeah, like when Alabama and LSU played the national championship game. Yeah, those were the two best teams in the country.
Or when it should have been Alabama and Georgia, but instead it was the SEC title game.
Right. The SEC has lost a little of that respect, so I don't even know if the SEC could get 2 teams in anymore. It would be difficult, I think, unless one of the conferences imploded, or I guess 2 of the conferences imploded, for a conference to get 2 teams in. Just the way they've picked teams so far, it seems unlikely to me, especially because a lot of times you have these Cinderella story type schools that go undefeated but obviously don't make the playoffs because they don't have the strength of schedule. I could see one of them getting in over like a USC that doesn't win the Pac and has 2 losses, or I don't know.
Something like that. Because honestly, we're talking about the conferences. I'm really downgrading the Big 12 this year.
Yeah,
and
agreed.
I could honestly see West Virginia winning that conference. And that's been a sleeper pick for a lot of people, and I was even tempted to make it. But honestly, it's either, to me, the 2 best teams in that conference are West Virginia and Oklahoma State.
And I don't think either team is particularly great.
Exactly.
They're both good teams.
They're good teams, but they'd probably be middle of the road in another conference, if I'm being honest with you. Just honestly, because of style of play alone.
It's the defense. I mean, I just don't. I know a lot of people like that kind of football. I don't like seeing the Texas Tech. I don't like seeing that style
Cliff
of football.
Kingsbury, where he's just airing it out. It's air raid offense kind of stuff.
The Michael Crabtree. I don't remember what quarterback he had.
It was Graham Harrell.
Yeah, Graham Harrell. I don't like seeing those kinds of offenses. It just doesn't entertain me. I mean, it's entertaining if they're going up against a good defense, but when you have two teams that are literally not trying on defense, it makes it difficult to watch. Anyway, those are our college football playoff predictions. Yay!
Join us next week where our lists are probably going to be completely different.
Yay! Now, the NFL.
Now, what should we start with on the NFL?
The
should
NFL.
We go predictions, or should we go some deeper?
Let's go predictions.
Let's
go predictions. So the NFL season starts Thursday. It's 5 days from the day we're recording this, probably 4 days from the day it gets released. Patriots Chiefs, Thursday night. It's going to be great. Should be a great game. Super Bowl champs, the greatest quarterback and the greatest coach of all time against Andy Reid.
And Mr. Checkdown.
Mr. Checkdown.
Mr. Consistency.
So, first, who's winning the Super Bowl? Who are the two teams that make it to the Super Bowl and who wins?
So tough.
Give me your NFC team.
Dallas.
Yep. I will take... That's a good pick.
Thanks.
I think Dallas will be... Assuming Dak was for real, and I think he was, I think Dallas is a good choice. I have a hard time coming up with a better choice.
That's why I ended up going with Dallas.
I mean, the Packers are always in it because they have Aaron Rodgers.
Right, they are, but it always seems to me like they just kind of limp into the playoffs anyway, and it's Aaron Rodgers and some guys. Which I know it works right now, but there's going to be at some point...
Well, it works in the regular season.
It works in the regular season, but at some point, Dallas almost got him last year. So...
You know what? Give me the Packers. I believe.
Oh my god!
I believe my man Aaron Rodgers.
You have heart eyes emoji right now over your face. Talking about Rodgers.
Come down to Cowboys and Packers, and just like last year, Aaron Rodgers is going to find a way. He's going to throw some Hail Marys down the field, drop some dimes, going to make it happen.
He's just going to tell Martellus Bennett to run left. Is that what's going to happen? Just go left.
He told everyone to do that play, dude. That play, if you don't know, by the way, the playoff game between the Packers and Cowboys last year, the final play before the field goal that saved, what's his name? The tight end. What the heck is...
Are you talking about Ripkowski?
No, your tight end.
Oh, Jared Cook.
Jared Cook, the play that saved Jared Cook's career. Aaron Rodgers drew that play up in the dirt. That's incredible. He was like, I don't need you, coach. You suck anyway. I'll draw this play up. And he did, and they won. It's going to happen again. Give me the Packers. Yeah. All right, AFC.
You can put your Chiefs head away now.
A little bit of a biased pick, I'll admit. A little bit. AFC.
Oh,
I'm
for
waiting.
Me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Sorry,
you.
I thought you were going into your AFC pick.
Well, I mean, it's trying to keep the rhythm of the show going.
Oh,
you went first,
my
then
fault.
I went.
My fault.
I mean, it's how we've done it the entire time so far. You pick, then I pick. Yeah.
Sorry, I was still trying to collect my thoughts after being so angry at you for picking with your heart. Anyway, your
sometimes
cheese
you gotta
covered
pick
heart.
with your heart, man.
Your cheese covered heart over there. Anyway. I think there may be too many questions for the Patriots this year. Honestly. So, this may be a little bit with my heart. Oakland Raiders.
Too many questions. What questions do they have?
Offense. I mean, they made the Philip Dorsett trade today. I mean, I know...
Offense. Yes, they lost Edelman, but
And their defense, they just cut Coney Ely. You don't know. They're trying to get Rob Ninkovich out of retirement after he just retired. I mean, there's some questions there. If any team's going to overcome it, it's them. But I just think, I don't know. I mean, there's going to be 1 year where they don't get there. It's happened in the past. I think this may be the year. You don't know if Gronk's going to be healthy for a full season, So, I mean, he really hasn't been for a full season most of his career. So that's why I
fair.
think this year, I mean, Brady's going to be 40.
Well, and they can't make it every year.
Exactly.
I understand that.
Yeah. I mean, at one point, I'm not saying the dynasty's over, but at one point you're going to have a little bit of a down year. It happens to every team.
Well, and eventually when you have a 40-year quarterback, eventually he's going to have a drop-off.
Right.
May not happen this season, may not happen next season, but eventually in the next few years, Tom Brady will get worse. So the Raiders. Well, I've talked negative towards the Raiders a lot recently.
Yes, you have.
I think they're probably going to miss the playoffs. I want to say the Patriots just because it's the whole never bet against Bill Belichick, never bet against Nick Saban, never bet against Greg Popovich.
Kind of little track record there.
Give me the Steelers.
Okay.
They're a team that has been really close the last few years. 2 years ago, they really should have gotten farther than they did until Vontaze Burfict hurt Antonio Brown. They've dealt with some injuries to Le'Veon Bell. That team has as much skill talent as any team. Now they have Joe Hayden, who could be something, could not. That defense isn't great. Big Ben is pretty good. I mean, that team is too good to not go deep in the playoffs so many years in a row. They've been quite a disappointment lately, and I think this is the year they make a deep run. So give me the Steelers out of the AFC.
Okay. I can respect that.
Super Bowl. Who's winning?
Dallas.
Year of the America's team.
That's right. Year of the star on the helmet.
The boys are coming back.
How about them Cowboys?
Give me the Packers. Okay. And
all right, here we go.
Those were our NFL predictions. Now let's do like the award stuff. MVP.
Dak Prescott.
See, the problem I have with that choice, not that I'm criticizing you.
Yeah.
I like Dak.
Oh, I do too.
The problem I have with that choice is Zeke will always be the running back, not even Zeke. Darren McFadden was a 1,000-yard rusher on that team. The running back will always be the focal point of that offense, right? Because their offensive line and the run game is so freaking good, you should always be running the ball. Dak, I just don't think will have the numbers. When you have guys, it's almost always quarterback. When you have guys who will put up 5,000 yards and 35 touchdowns, like Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady. Kirk Cousins is probably going to do that this year. Matt Stafford was an MVP candidate going until the end of the season last year. I mean, MVP voters end up looking at stats more than anything.
Yeah, that's
unfortunately. And I don't think you can ever win the MVP when you're not the focal point of an offense. Like Matt Ryan was the focal point of that offense last year, even though they had great running backs. The passing game carried the team, right? Even when they were passing to the running backs.
Still carried
the Cowboys, the running game carries the team. And it's a great strategy that works for them because of their dominant offensive line. But because of that, I just don't see Zach putting up the numbers. Did I say Zach?
You said Zach.
You know what I mean.
I know who you meant.
Zach Martin, their right guard. The greatest guard in all of football.
All football, yeah, with Travis Frederick, the best center in football, right next to him.
And the left tackle.
Tyrone Smith.
Who's like the second best left tackle in football. Behind the dude that plays for the Redskins. No? What is his name? Andre Williams? Trent Williams? Anyway, this is awkward.
Anyway, that's very awkward. I don't know. I will explain my pick a little bit.
Go ahead.
It's honestly a gut pick, and it's the person who takes like a big step forward and also on like a winning team. So I expect the Cowboys to win a whole heck of a lot. But honestly, I mean, I didn't see Matt Ryan winning it last year. And
so you think this is the case of Matt Ryan won it last year, arguably because he was an unfamiliar name putting up unfamiliar stats. He was putting up the stats that Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady arguably had better years and better numbers, but they're used to seeing those guys do it.
Right.
Matt Ryan was a new face. Okay.
And then also his team was winning, was a favorite and all that stuff. So that's kind of why I just went, usually go with the team you expect to win a whole lot of games, who's always in front of the camera. And that's why I settled on Dak. Because it's pretty hard pick. You really are just taking a shot in the dark right now.
Yeah.
Unless you pick Brady or Rodgers.
That's what I'm going to do.
That's exactly.
If I'm going to pick the Packers to be the Super Bowl champions.
Oh, here we go.
There's only one way they're doing it. And that's with the first ever 6,000-yard season from Aaron Rodgers.
Give me a moment. I need a break.
Bye, Weston. Bye. Okay, now that we're all alone, this is the Bradley Show. Now we can talk about how good Aaron Rodgers is. Aaron Rodgers is the most accurate quarterback.
Don't worry, guys. I'm back. I've saved you from that kind of football hell that you're about to go through. It's not even football hell. It's just the whole room is covered in cheese. There's pictures of Aaron Rodgers everywhere.
So here's the thing. Let me justify my pick. I think if I was Vegas, there's like a 30% chance Tom Brady wins MVP, a 30% Aaron Rodgers wins MVP, and a 40% chance for the field. Would you agree with those numbers roughly?
Roughly, yes.
So then, logically, you should pick either Aaron Rodgers or Tom Brady. Why wouldn't I pick Aaron Rodgers? Like Tom Brady, back to fantasy. I know this isn't a fantasy show, but I've intentionally avoided Tom Brady in fantasy this year because he's 40. Eventually, he'll fall off. If this is the year, the MVP is basically Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers had arguably a down year for him last year, and he should have won MVP. Like, at least came in second. He ended up in third, I think. He carried a mediocre team to being really good. And if I really am going to go with the Packers Super Bowl, he's going to have to do that again.
Yeah.
With running backs, with wide receivers as his running backs. So give me Aaron Rodgers, please. And thank you. Defensive Player of the Year.
This one's, I'm pretty confident about this pick. Khalil Mack.
Yeah. Agreed. No argument. That was my pick, too.
He is too good, especially since Aaron Donald is basically going to sit out the entire season, which mad respect to you, Aaron Donald. But anyway, Khalil Mack, an all-pro at two different positions.
The only player ever to be an all-pro at two different positions. He is not even close, in my opinion, the best all-around defensive player in football.
Agreed.
He is nearly as good a pass rusher as Von Miller. He's nearly as good a tackler as Luke Kuechly, and he's nearly as good in coverage as guys like Luke Kuechly.
He's just phenomenal.
When you have Luke Kuechly is the best inside linebacker in football, Von Miller is the best outside linebacker in football. Those two have a baby.
Von Miller.
It's not Von Miller.
It's Khalil Mack.
It's Khalil Mack.
Me. Sorry.
Khalil Mack is an incredible football player. He's the only player that team has on its defense. And if that team is going to do anything this season, they need Khalil Mack to have the best year of his career, despite having historic seasons
basically
so far
every year in his career.
In his young career.
Like, what, is this year 3?
Yeah, year 4?
It's either year 3 or 4.
Came
He's
out the
young.
same year as Aaron Donald. So this is year 4.
Okay.
I think.
Man, what could have been? What could have been if Fisher had picked Khalil Mack instead of Greg Robinson? It would have been Khalil Mack and Aaron Donald on that defense. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, the only thing that makes me hesitant now is J.J. Watt, because of his philanthropic efforts recently, have been very public. You know that kind of thing is going to be lingering in people's minds if he winds up with like 16, 17 sacks this year, like he should. He's J.J. Watt. He's the best defensive end in football.
Right.
He's going to put up monster numbers if he can stay healthy, especially now that sometimes he won't be able to get double-teamed now that he's got another defender on the opposite side of the line. Wow, names are escaping me today.
Clowney?
Yes, thank you. Jadeveon Clowney is opposite him now. Teams won't be able to double him, he should dominate. And wow, it's
Always
storming
right
again.
Always right on cue towards the end of the show.
Here's our weekly wow, it's raining outside segment brought to you by weather.
It's there. Weather. Always. You can count on it. Except you never can. What a slogan that is.
Anyway,
right.
Khalil Mack's a beast. Let's move on. Not defensive play of the year. We just did that. Rookie of the year. Last one.
Rookie of the year. I would like you to go first in this one.
You would like me to go first?
I would.
So there's a couple of options. Let me talk through my logic. Joe Mixon should be really good. Should end up the starter in a good offense with the Bengals. Dalvin Cook should end up the starter in an okay offense with the Vikings. You have John Ross could do something. Christian McCaffrey's a really good hot pick. The receiver that the Titans drafted, whose name is escaping me. Corey Davis. I mean, those are sort of the guys that you're looking at for Rookie of the Year. I would take Dalvin Cook. And here's why.
Okay.
Here's why. Joe Mixon, I think, is going to be part of a true running back by committee, even though I think he may be better than Dalvin Cook. Dalvin Cook, I believe the Vikings will have an okay season, but not great. And they will end up giving the keys to Dalvin Cook and letting him roll. Latavius Murray, I don't think is very good. I don't think the Vikings think he's very good, even though they just signed him.
Right.
That job will be his after the first couple of weeks. It'll probably be a committee at first before Dalvin Cook finds his footing, and I think he will take over. The only other option that just dawned on me is Kareem Hunt, who will be part of a very good offense, who should get all the carries behind Alex Smith. But I would take Dalvin Cook. I said it already. Can't really change my mind. Give me Dalvin Cook.
All right, and I am not even going with your second prediction there, and I'm taking a guy you did not even mention.
All right.
I'm picking Leonard Fournette because he's about all they got, and I think he's going to get all the carries. And by all the carries, I think it's going to be like Todd Gurley in his rookie season, where it's just get the ball, get the ball, get the ball.
I like that pick. The only hesitation I have about Fournette is they're going to run him into the dirt. Their offensive line sucks. I guess the Vikings' offensive line sucks too, but their offense is a little better. Like the Jaguars' offense is a joke. I could see Leonard Fournette getting like 3 touchdowns this year. Even being the workhorse running back of a team, getting like almost all the goal line carries, I could see him winding up with 3, 4, 5 touchdowns this year, which is not impressive if you're going to get 30 carries a game.
Right.
That's the only problem I have with him. But I mean, Rookie of the Year is always kind of a toss-up anyway.
It is.
I just wanted to throw it in there to talk about some of the upcoming rookies.
It's a good discussion. That's why I'm going with Fournette, just because based off of sheer volume, I think he's going to be the bell cow of that offense. I mean, it's not great offense.
Well, they've already said, Doug Marrone said, if it's up to me, we're not throwing the ball once. We're running the ball every single play.
And that just goes to show you what they think of Fournette anyway. So.
And it shows you what they think of Blake Bortles.
A little bit.
Anyway, let's wrap this show up with a nice, deep, philosophical question. Matt Stafford just signed the largest contract in NFL history with the Detroit Lions. Matt Stafford, pretty good quarterback. Not great. Really doesn't have any logical reason to be making more money than anyone else in the NFL, other than the fact that he plays quarterback. So, here's the question. The Lions give away a significant portion of their salary cap to keep Matthew Stafford with them. Before Matthew Stafford got there, that team was trash, right? They were really, really bad. Since Matthew Stafford's been there, like they've made the playoffs several times. Two out of the last 3 years, they've made the playoffs. Haven't won a playoff game yet, but they've been really close. They probably should have won 1 or 2. What do you think about this deal? What do you think about the signing?
I know it's quote-unquote market value, but I still believe it is an overpay, personally. Just because I know it's the deep philosophical question of, well, you have to pay your quarterback because honestly, that's really what the Lions have. They have Matthew Stafford. I mean, they have a couple other pieces on offense, a few pieces on defense, but by and large, their team is Matthew Stafford and a bunch of guys.
And their offense is a lot better than their defense. But
right, it is. But I mean, they have like Darius Slay, Ziggy Ansah, if he has a bounce back year, people like that. But by and large, it's Matthew Stafford. So I guess he's in this quarterback climate, he's worth the money. But at the same time, it's like I really don't see them drastically getting any better. I only really see them getting worse.
So here's the problem. You have a situation, the Redskins are debating this exact question. You have a quarterback who's up for a new deal. You could let him walk. Yes, it's an overpay, so why wouldn't you let him walk? It's what the Patriots would do. Arguably. Maybe. It's what they do with other positions. They've never really been in a position like that with quarterback because Tom Brady, because of his trust in the organization, takes pay cuts.
And his work off the field and everything like that.
And the fact that he's not even the breadwinner of his own family. Yeah.
Right, yes.
His wife is taking care of him. Anyway. That was awkward.
That was a little bit.
If you let him walk, you've just given up the most valuable player in all of sports in a quarterback. You haven't wasted a bunch of money on the salary cap. Sure, you could get lucky and draft a guy like Dak Prescott. Or the one example that I hear brought up is the Broncos were faced with this dilemma where Jay Cutler was up for a big contract and they decided to let him walk. Right. And then they ended up
they traded him to Chicago, but yes.
Right, but they were going to have to pay him. And they didn't want to pay him, so they traded him. And yeah, they ended up winning Super Bowls because they were able to build a great team that went to the Super Bowl on defense and won. And they had good skill position. They went to 2 Super Bowls, actually. But they got Peyton Manning. The Lions, if they let Matt Stafford, wouldn't get Peyton Manning or someone like that, right?
Right.
So I think that example is faulty and misguided.
And they really kind of lucked into Peyton Manning anyway. Because I mean, he could have stayed in Indianapolis.
He could have gone to any
Tennessee.
Team. They got lucky.
Dallas. I mean, I forget where else was looking at. There were a lot of teams in on.
And if they
Peyton
hadn't
Manning.
gotten Peyton Manning, they would have been stuck with Tim Tebow going 8-8 every year, which is fine. I guess that's.
I mean, it's not bad.
I don't know. The Redskins are faced with this exact question of Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins and Matt Stafford, NFL quarterback-wise, are probably around the same level. They're not great. They're pretty good. They can get the job done if they have a team around them. Do you pay that guy? Do you hang on with all your might to the most important position in sports, or do you let him go? I don't. This is when I'm glad to not be an NFL GM. I would probably have paid Matt Stafford that, knowing that, yes, paying him this much money, we're handicapping ourselves in what we can offer free agents. But one, it's the Lions. What kind of free agents are they getting anyway? But if Matt Stafford goes and we aren't able to replace him in the draft, because quarterbacks in the draft are really, they're 50-50. I mean, you can scout all you want. You can believe in a guy all you want. Sometimes guys just don't pan out.
Exactly.
It's the way the NFL works. The quarterback position is so difficult that there's very, very few that can actually do it at a high level. Because Matt Stafford he's probably like the 10th best quarterback in the world.
Speaking of that, the whole scouting and drafting thing, I mean, there's the reports out there that, had Sam Bradford come out his junior year, they would have taken Sam Bradford over Matthew Stafford anyway.
Exactly. So these sort of things, they're random, let's be honest. But Matt Stafford is a top 10, top 15 quarterback in the entire world at his profession, and yet he's not considered great because he can't win on his own. I would sign him because worst case scenario, if you have Matthew Stafford as your quarterback, you will be about 500. You will not. You
7-9, 9-7,
especially
range.
at the Lions, who are the only team in NFL history to go 0-16, right?
Yes.
You don't want to go back to that. That was pre-Matthew Stafford. And Matthew Stafford's first couple of years, I mean, he went like 1-win season, 2-win seasons. He was dealing with a lot of injuries. You can't go back to that.
That's
as expensive as Matthew Stafford is. I would be doing everything in my power as a GM, as an owner, as an executive of an NFL team like Detroit that isn't going to get a bunch of free agents, isn't going to get a lot of media attention, isn't going to get the superstars unless you draft them and home grow them yourself. I would hang on to my quarterback for dear life, be happy with mediocrity. Maybe, I mean, that team has a chance to win some playoff games. They do. They have a chance every year. They get to the playoffs a lot. I'm not going back.
See, that's where the main difference is with me. Because it's Detroit, I say yes. Even though I don't like the contract really, and it could end up looking really bad, but people are going to understand. Because it's not like you're, no offense to Detroit or anything, or the Lions organization, you're not really attracting a whole bunch of free agents to come in there.
Well, it's a franchise that's been a joke. Like, the two best players in franchise history both quit on the team because they were tired of losing.
They were tired of losing and wanted to, live the rest of their life before they just couldn't get out of bed in the morning.
And I mean, so I don't think that's unfair to say at all. You're Detroit, you're a laughingstock, or you have been. And finally in your career, you've had a sustained several-year period where you're not a laughingstock. Like, you're not the butt of every joke. The Browns are now.
That's right.
Congratulations, you've graduated. Like
the classic Cleveland-Detroit rivalry right there.
Or the Jets are. The Jets are a butt of every joke now. Let me ask you a question. What would you do if you're Washington? Because that's a team that has gotten big free agents in the past. It's a little bit more of a historic franchise. Can get, free agents. I mean, it's got a little bit more luster than Detroit.
Right, and there's also, in a conversation we were having with somebody before the show who's from the D.C. area, there's a lot of players that are from the D.C. area.
A lot.
That will, probably gladly come back home to play for the team they rooted for as
a surprisingly high amount of athletes come out of the D.C. area.
Right. So that's why what I think they're going to do, I think they're going to let him walk. Personally, I really like Kirk Cousins probably more than most. So I would sign him, but I also would have signed him 2 years ago and not put myself in this situation. But that's me.
So the contract that he's going to have to get it's going to be more than Matt Stafford. Slightly. Oh, yeah. It'll be slightly more, but he will have to be the highest paid player in NFL history. You would do that?
Unfortunately for them, yes. I don't think they're going to, but in Washington, I think they're more equipped to bring in another quarterback and more free agents anyway. I mean, honestly, because they did the same thing with RG3. They sat RG3, who was supposed to be their guy, and they ended up getting Kirk Cousins.
The difference with that, though, is RG3
was in shambles anyway.
I mean, RG3 fell apart as a player because of injuries and lack of confidence, and when his legs went away, he didn't really have the arm to back it up, at least not on anything other than deep throws. Kirk is Matthew Stafford, let's be honest. They're about the same player. I'd give him the money with the same logic of I'm hanging on to my quarterback for dear life. I would be more hesitant to sign Kirk than I was Matthew Stafford, just because if I'm Washington, I feel like I have a better team. I feel like I can get some guys to come to Washington, but I don't know. Quarterbacks are so hard to find, man.
Exactly.
When you have one, there's like 15 good quarterbacks in the league.
And how you lucked kind of into Kirk Cousins because you drafted him in the 4th round.
Kirk Cousins was a flyer.
He was a flyer I personally believed in, but he was a flyer.
No one cares about you, Weston.
You know what? Whatever. He was my pick. He was my sleeper pick out of that draft, and I am very proud of it.
Nick Foles is still going to show up. Anyway, we've gone on way too long. Some of us have to get to work. Others have to edit the podcast. So let's wrap things up. If you agree with our picks or disagree, send us a tweet at The Rollout Show. We like to hear from you. Check out the new website, therolloutsports.com. Weston is working on a series right now.
That is right.
Of the all underpaid team in every major sport, where he's going through each sport. By each sport, I mean the ones he's going to do, at least the big three. He's already posted the MLB all underpaid team. So for each starting position, he basically makes a team of value, right?
Yes.
That'd be one way to explain it. Like, he's pretending to be the GM of the Patriots, and he's getting all the underpaid guys
That's
he can.
right.
So it's a good read. Check it out at therolloutsports.com. Next, he will be releasing his NBA, hopefully in the next week or so. But you can check out the MLB All Underpaid Team at therolloutsports.com. Check it out. It's a good read. I hate baseball and found it kind of interesting. Like, I did not realize that Chris Sale was making like nothing.
Oh yeah, that's why he was so valuable in a trade. Is because he's making nothing. Because not only do you want a young player who's very, very good, but if they're signed to a contract that buys out some free agent years and puts them through arbitration, they're even more valuable.
See, so you may find other guys that you didn't realize were so underpaid.
Absolutely.
Check that out at therolloutsports.com. Thank you, Weston.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm glad you enjoyed the article, and I think
did.
you guys will really like the NBA article as well. It's going to be structured a little differently because there's fewer positions in the NBA, so I added top 3 at each position. So
doing like first team, second team, third team, like an all NBA team.
Exactly. So just trying like that. Just a few guys you'll be surprised about. A few are kind of does. So there we go.
All right. Thank you for listening, everybody. This has been episode 25 of The Rollout Show. Check us out at therolloutsports.com. Follow us on Twitter at The Rollout Show. Anything else to add, Weston?
Kyrie officially got traded. All right.
Yeah, Kyrie. Woo!
Woo!
The trade went through. We didn't do that whole episode for nothing.
Hey.
Thank you for listening. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.